This is Bulldog Country, presented by Minnesota Power and Essentia Health.
What is up? Welcome to Bulldog Country. It's our weekly half-hour installment of news, highlights, and analysis of UMD Bulldogs athletics. Our chance to give you, the fans, a bit better idea what actually goes on with these teams and these players that you see competing for UMD. Coming up in tonight's show, we're going to talk football. The Bulldogs had a huge win on homecoming weekend over St. Cloud State. Head coach Curt Wiese will join us here. We'll hear from women's hockey head coach Shannon Miller following her team's season-opening sweep of Connecticut, and we'll also check in with the volleyball team. They're still ranked second in the country right now, but first we are going to talk some hockey. Joining us is UMD head men's coach Scott Sandlin. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Jack.
Seems like a lot of optimism surrounding your program to start this year. How do you feel about the Bulldogs heading into the season?
Well, it's always exciting to start the year. You got some new faces. I thought we had, a lot of quality returning players. I think, all those things add up to that excitement and, the unknown, so to speak. You got the new conference, so there's a lot of things that are new this year, but I've liked what I've seen so far. It was nice to get a game under our belt and see what guys can do in some game situations. But as we know, it gets a lot tougher. But we've got a good group, and I think there's a lot of potential to do a lot of good things.
Last year, you showed flashes of absolute brilliance on the offensive end, ability to score a lot of goals really quickly. Is that what we're going to see again from this team, hopefully?
Well, we started the year, remember, scoring 6 goals against Ohio State. I think everyone thought it was going to be, easy to score goals, but I think as we found out at the end of the year, we scored 99. So, I think this year we have the potential to do more, but in saying that, I'm cautious because of the strength of our league and how well teams can play, and, trying to see how quickly the freshmen and the young guys, even, guys like Cameron Easy and Farley, how they come back, in their sophomore year. We need our upperclassmen to lead us, and hopefully we're going to score more goals, but we need to keep it out of our net too. I think defense and goaltending are going to be huge keys.
You talk about the leadership, Joe Basaraba, the captain, Adam Krause, a Hermantown guy, the alternate captain this year. What do you expect out of them from a leadership standpoint for these guys?
Well, I think they've been great. I mean, obviously Joe's, our senior captain, Adam's a junior, but, Joe was on our championship team. He's been around. He's had a lot of success. He's been to the tournament, NCAA tournament 2 of his 3 years, and, I think last year was a disappointment for everybody, but I think just having him be that kind of calming influence, creating and expanding on that culture that we're trying to, build on, it's going to be huge. And obviously we've got, the other 6 to 7 juniors in our group that, have some experience, and we're going to count on those. I think you have to count on those guys to be your consistent players, to lead with example, and and teach the young guys. You
mentioned earlier Tony Cameronese, Austin Farley, 2 of your best players, at least statistically. It seemed like in the flow of gameplay, they were 2 of your better players last year. They're sophomores now. What do you expect out of their second year?
More points. Certainly they had tremendous freshman years. I think, Tony's first half was really good, and Austin's second half was really good. I think they kind of traded off, but, at the end of the year, they both tied, for the scoring league with Seidel. And to have those guys come in and do that, I think was huge for us, because that was, again, an unknown going in, and we knew we had lost a lot of scoring. We had, Seidel and Herbert and guys like that coming back, but, those 2 guys we were hoping and counting on to produce, and they did that. And I think that was huge for us to have some success and, kind of solidify, some top lines.
You should have another good freshman class with all the talent coming in. It's kind of highlighted by Duluth native Dom Toninato and his line mate from the USHL, Alex Alifalo. You expect another good young crew to come in here their first year?
Yeah, I really like our freshman group. I liked our freshman group last year. I think we've had 2 very good recruiting classes, and I think you look at those 2 that you mentioned, they've got some chemistry. They played together in Fargo on the same line, and I think you saw that in the game Monday on their goal. And it's nice to have that. It's like returning guys having played together, kind of like our first line with Tony and Farley and Basaraba, who played together last year. So we've got some chemistry. I think we've got some depth. But those 2 guys, again, are going to be guys that I think can be impact players in this league.
That group on the blue line is led by another Duluth guy, and Andy Walensky. He seems like a guy that you want on the ice in every situation, even strength, power play. Doesn't matter as long as he's on the ice, you feel confident.
Yeah, I think he really grew through last year. I think coming into the year, he thought it might be a little bit easier than it was, but I think he quickly adjusted, as good players do. And I think he had a very strong, middle part of the year and end of the year for us. I think he's going to be counted on to play a lot of minutes. He's been told that, and hopefully, it's hard to ask a kind of a sophomore to be your go-to guy, but I think he's ready for that. I think he learned a lot last year, and I think with how he played, getting a year under his belt, he'll be better for us.
And then goaltending, you got three guys on the roster who I think you feel all of them can be a number one goaltender in this league, but you're hoping that near the start of the year, one of them kind of steps up, takes control of that job. Is that what you're hoping for?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's going to be a huge key for us. I wasn't pleased with if you look at our goaltending numbers last year. I think our three combined were under 90 save percentage. It's not going to win a lot of games. You bump that up to 92, and that's the difference in maybe winning a game, or two more. And we need solid goaltending. That's just not them. They have to steal the game here or there. But we have to play good team defense and give them support offensively too, which we weren't able to do a lot last year. And in turn, we didn't have the wins we wanted. So, but it'll be interesting. We're going to have those guys compete. On our team, there's no entitlement for anything. You've got to earn it. And I know two of the guys have more experience, so we're hoping to see what they can do.
Well, you start the regular season this Friday, Saturday against Michigan Tech. We're going to bring you back later in the show, talk about the Huskies. So,
okay.
Thanks, Coach. We're going to take a break. More Bulldog Country right here on the My9 Sports Network. Welcome back to Bulldog Country. Joining us for this segment of the show is head football coach Curt Wiese. Coach, thanks again for being here, and it's under good circumstances this week again.
Yeah, that win against St. Cloud State felt good, and I know our guys left the field Saturday afternoon with a good feeling.
The past two seasons, you've left their field down at St. Cloud with a little bit worse feeling, two regular season losses as Huskies. So on homecoming weekend, it makes it all the sweeter that it was St. Cloud State that you got a chance to knock off.
Absolutely, and especially in front of that crowd. To have 3,700 fans there in those weather conditions showed a lot about our community sport, and also our student section was filled again for a homecoming game, so it was great to see. Game
didn't start out the way that you wanted. The first half was really tough football for both teams. Are you happy with the way your guys responded through that first half? It felt like they just kept plugging away and didn't really deviate from what you were trying to do.
Yeah, we had our backs against the wall a little bit in that first half, and I know the field position game was a big part of that game, and we continued to try to create field position, make sure that our offense could get the ball past 50 and punt and make St. Cloud drive the field in that weather. And we struggled to get that in the first half. Got a couple breaks with a fourth down play for them, and then turn the game around really with a 98-yard drive that was capped off by a fake field goal.
We're going to talk about that later, but then the second half was just fun to watch from a fan's perspective, from a broadcaster's perspective, I'm sure from a coach's perspective. It was everything that you wanted to see out of a half of football from your guys.
Yeah, proud of the way our guys persevered through that first half. I know we faced a lot of situations that we weren't ready for in that first half, and our guys did a good job. Our coaching staff did a good job at halftime making some adjustments in the run game, and it proved to be the difference in that second half.
Passing game virtually non-existent for both teams. I mean, Phil Klophockey for St. Cloud State is a great quarterback. Drew Bauer for you has been doing well, but the weather really made it tough, and Austin Sikorsky, Logan Lauders for you really carried the load throughout that entire game.
Yeah,
Saturday.
They did. They did a good job, and back to the weather conditions, it was tough not only to throw the football but to catch it and get open. Footing wasn't tremendous, but second half, Logan Lauders, Austin Sikorsky, those guys ran hard. They hit holes that were continued to be open by our offensive line.
You talk about the turnover ratio of that game. You turn the ball over 3 times, you get 1 takeaway. So last week, if we had asked you lose that turnover battle 3-1, I don't think you say you come away with a 34-7 win.
No, and I know heading into halftime, being up, I think it was 13-7, and being down on the turnover margin as bad as we were, we knew we were in good shape. We knew that we could drive the ball against them, and we knew our defense, had a good game plan, was confident, and if St. Cloud didn't make any adjustments, our game plan was going to stay intact, and we could continue to slow down a very good offense.
How proud are you of that defense? They got put in some bad spots. The only touchdown St. Cloud scored was after an interception. They started on the 15-yard line. Tough to put that one on the defense, but that was the only points they got all day long.
Defense has been resilient all year, and to put them in that situation time and time again, to come out with just 7 points and to watch those guys come off the field or go onto the field after we had turned the ball over a few times, they weren't shaking their head wasn't down. They knew their job that night was to slow down St. Cloud State's offense, and they completed that job at the end of the day.
They did that through much of the first half. I want to take a look here at the first touchdown that you scored. It didn't come on offense. It came on special teams, a fake field goal here that's run in by backup quarterback Eric Klein near the end of the first half. You were down 7-0 at this point. St. Cloud State had just called a timeout. What were you thinking here? I mean, 7-3 going into halftime, not a bad score for UMD.
Yeah, well, a couple things on this. First of all, hats off to Eric Klein to come off the bench cold and execute this is not easy. And the second thing is the weather was bad enough that that field goal was not a gimme. So, had we kicked the field goal and missed it, we'd have probably been kicking ourselves later for not taking the look that St. Cloud State gave us.
And then we're saying up in the booth, 7-7, even better going into halftime. You're tied. You get the balls coming in the second half. You come out on the ensuing kickoff. I think you'd have been more than happy going in 7-7, but Austin Selvik recovers a fumble down on the 3-yard line, and you punch another one in. This special teams unit really came through for you at the end of the first half.
It was huge. And, the thing that people forget, the execution of that kick into the wind, and for Andrew Breeze to hang that on the sidelines and draw the ball back in. He did it in pregame, told us that he was actually going to lead the ball out of bounds and hoped the wind was going to put it in the corner. He did a really good job. Ball hit the turf, and fortunately for us, we recovered a fumble and went in 3 plays later. And
that's just a lot of your guys on the wing there playing until the whistle blows. I mean, like I said, 7-7, you could just say, let's get into halftime, get a little bit warm on a cold Saturday, but those guys hustled down there and made a play.
We were a little warmer heading into halftime after that play. Our guys had a lot of momentum and, again, came out in the second half and proved to wear down St. Cloud State.
Now you got MSU Moorhead. What do you know about the Dragons? You have to go on the road, and anytime you go on the road in this conference, it's going to be a tough Saturday.
Yeah, it's a road game. It's against a new staff. They've been there for 2 years. They continue to do a good job, not only recruiting, but they do a good job coaching their kids. So they've scored a lot of points this year. They're a team that could very easily be 3-2. They've lost a couple very close football games. They're coming off a big win last week at Northern State that they put up 48 points. So our guys are focused. They know that we can't afford to slip up. Going to Moorhead State, playing on grass, playing in potentially muddy conditions can equalize a game, so we'll have our hands full this weekend.
Can we expect to see some changes with that grass field up there? I mean, you got 2 good runners in Austin and Logan there.
Yeah, I guess I don't know if we'll have any changes per se. We'll stay with our base stuff, make sure that we can execute it, and we got to make sure we lean on our offensive line a little bit this weekend.
I think most people would look at the first 5 games of your schedule this year and say that's the tougher half of your schedule. Now you got the final 6. But you said it. You can't slip up at this point. You got to win out here to get everything done that you want to get done. So how do you keep the guys focused going forward?
Our guys knew after that St. Cloud State game that we put ourselves in position at this point to compete for a conference championship. If we can win out, potentially compete for a playoff bid. So they understand the ramifications of every game from here on out. Having 21 seniors and a very mature group is going to help us out. So, this week isn't any different than it was against St. Cloud State. May become potentially a little more difficult as we continue to win and put a little bit more pressure on us every game.
Looking to go 1-0 each week, huh, Coach?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thanks, Zach.
Coach Curt Wiese, we're going to have more with Bulldog Country right after this. It's on the My9 Sports Network. Welcome back. Dom Toninato is a name that hockey fans around here probably know. He was a standout player at Duluth East before playing this past season with Fargo in the United States Hockey League. This winter he'll be a freshman at UMD, a young player from whom big things are expected.
This UMD player profile is brought to you by Mining Minnesota.
First, he did it in high school at Duluth East. Then he did it in the USHL with Fargo.
Here he comes. He's got Iafallo back to Toninato.
And now Dom Toninato is prepared to do it in college for the UMD Bulldogs.
We're going to have to go out there and work hard every day. We got a great group of guys in here. I think we're meshing well already early. Just keep getting better as the season goes on.
One guy Toninato didn't have to mesh with was fellow freshman Alex Iafallo. Those two were line mates at Fargo and will start off the same way at UMD, skating on the second line with junior Caleb Herbert.
It's pretty cool. The chemistry's there. Playing with them all last year, it definitely helped, and now Herbert's on the other side with us, and I think we bonded right away, and the chemistry will keep getting better as we play together.
Yeah, it was definitely pretty sweet because, played all year in Fargo with him, and it was just a great time there to keep the chemistry going here. It's pretty awesome.
Toninato finished his 1 year at juniors with 29 goals and 41 assists, setting a new single-season record for the Fargo Force. Now, as he makes the jump to Division I, he calls last winter necessary for his development.
Well, I mean, just the size difference in the speed out there is a tremendous jump from high school. So, I mean, that year in Fargo really helped, and I think I really needed it to get a little bigger, faster, stronger. So, made this jump a little easier.
Sticking with the men's team, new uniforms for the Bulldogs were unveiled this week on the UMD campus. The new features include an NCHC patch on the chest and an aerial lift bridge stitched onto the shoulders. These were made by SP Apparel as UMD fulfills a prior agreement. Under Armour, though, is the new official apparel provider for the Bulldogs. They will provide this year's pink game uniforms and will start with the home and away jerseys next season for the UMD men. The UMD women's hockey team, meanwhile, is wearing Under Armour uniforms this season. They opened this past weekend at home against Connecticut. It went as well as could be expected for the Bulldogs. A 6-1 win on Friday, followed by a 7-0 win on Saturday. Jamie Kenyon and Jenna McFarland each had 2 goals in the series for UMD. Saturday night's win marked victory number 350 for head coach Shannon Miller in her tenure with the Bulldogs. She says that speaks a lot to her players and the people around her at UMD.
Well, having a milestone like that just shows you the kind of people that we've attracted, the coaching staff, the strength coaches, the players. I mean, it's everybody. And a 350 milestone like that just speaks to every single person that's ever been in this program. And we have a tradition of excellence. We have a tradition of winning, and we got to keep it going.
UMD this weekend then will get its first taste of the Western Collegiate Hockey Association for this season as the Bulldogs go on the road to take on North Dakota. The Bulldogs last season dropped 3 of 4 against Nodak. Miller says going to Grand Forks is always a tough proposition for her team.
You know, I love going to North Dakota to play because you've got to be mentally tough and you've got to play with courage. And these are good lessons for these young women to learn. They've got to be warriors. They will have thousands of people at their game. Their students will be drunk and they will be screaming at us. They scream rude things at you when you come down the hallway to enter the ice. The fans bang on the plexiglass and yell things at me. And so it's a really good test on the ice, off the ice, your physical abilities, your mental abilities.
To volleyball, UMD's Julie Rainey has been named the Northern Sun Conference Defensive Player of the Week for the second time already this season. The Bulldogs junior captain had 42 digs in 2 matches this past weekend. She currently leads the conference, averaging more than 5 digs per game so far this season. Then on Tuesday night, Rainey and the Dogs back at it in Romano Gymnasium. They were hosting Northern Michigan. Pick it up in the first game, Sydney Mauk here with the kill for the Bulldogs. She had 7 of those in the match. Later on, Elizabeth Benuza with the service ace for UMD, her first of 2. Gets us to game point in the first. A great dig from Benuza, set from Ashley Hinch, and then a kill from Monica Turner. UMD takes game 1 and the match. Hibby native Kate Lang on Tuesday led all players with 14 kills for the Bulldogs. They are now 16-1 so far this season. It's time for our last break. Coming back, we'll chat again with men's hockey coach Scott Sandelin in front of his team's regular season opener this weekend against Michigan Tech. It's Bulldog Country on the My9 Sports Network.
Bulldog Country is sponsored by UMD Stores. Check us out on the UMD campus or online at umdstores.com.
Welcome back to Bulldog Country. Joining us once more here is UMD head men's hockey coach Scott Sandelin. Coach, you start the regular season this weekend with Michigan Tech. It's a team you know well from your days in the WCHA, and you know they're going to be a tough opponent coming in here to Amsoil Arena. Well,
yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great way to start the year. I mean, obviously with us switching leagues, them staying in the WCHA, there's still some bitterness there and we're going to see that with those teams. But again, they're much improved over the last 2 or 3 years. Certainly, the last couple of years under Mel Pearson. You know, so they've got a very good team. We expect a battle, much like our every weekend's going to be. So I think it's a great way to start the year. I think you're going to see some intense hockey. I'm not saying it's going to be pretty early in the year. You're going to see probably some good and some bad, but overall, at the end of the day, I think it's going to be very intense and physical.
You like starting the year at home, and fans are going to be jacked up. Amsoil should be rocking on Friday night.
You know what? Sometimes it's okay to start on the road too. I think, especially with a non-conference, because you can bring your team and kind of have that bonding early. But it's nice. It's time to kind of get going. You know, last year our schedule was kind of a mess. We were home early and not home for a while. And this year's kind of the same way. But you know, it is what it is. You know, I look at our first 8 games before we have a break. You know, it's going to tell a lot. And you know, we've got some tough road games and we've got some tough home games. So I'm excited to see where we're going to be at.
You only started official practice this past Saturday, so you're going to have 7 days of practice, full practice leading up to this game. Does that change your approach as a coaching staff, kind of simplify things for the guys?
In some things, you know, when you're talking about the power plays, you know, Monday's game we ran everybody to kind of see where we were at. I think we're going to kind of stay with the same theme just because it's a shorter week before, you know, we have to do anything. I like some of the things we did, so it's just a matter of putting all the pieces together, but it's going to be a huge part. And but overall, I mean, everyone's in the same boat. You know, some guys played on Saturday, some played on Sunday, some played on the day they started. So that's just hockey, and you know, our guys will be ready. And you know, again, we're not going to be where we want to be the first weekend. You want to keep growing through the year. Thank you very much, Coach. Best of luck this weekend against Michigan Tech. Before we close out our half hour tonight, we're going to look ahead to next week here in Bulldog Country. Big weekend series for the women's hockey team as they host Minnesota here Friday and Saturday night. Big rivalry series for Shannon Miller and her group. The volleyball team back at home with a Friday-Saturday set against Moorhead and Northern State. Football will play at Malosky Stadium Saturday afternoon against Minot State, and Coach Sandlin and his guys will go on the road for a first ever NCHC series, that one on the road against Colorado College. So with that, we're going to say goodbye, Bulldogs fans. Remember, you can keep up with any and all UMD news on our website, nscnow.com. We will be back same time, same place next week. Until then, I'm Zach Schneider. Thanks for watching Bulldog Country on the My9 Sports Network.